Hi folks, and welcome to my review of Ultimate General Civil War, an older game now, but does it still hold up in 2024? Well, I've got to say it's probably one of the best American Civil War games around, but let's be honest, we're not exactly spoilt for choice, are we, these days? If you're a fan of this period of history, then this unfortunately is one of the few games still available on the subject. I first got interested in this period way back in the 90s through North and South, and then that was followed up with the amazing Sid Meier's Gettysburg, which this, I think, was influenced by. So let's go and take a look at the game, and if you'd like to see my entire playthroughs as both the Union and Confederate armies, then check out the links below to my second channel. You can follow my progress over on there. So what is Ultimate General Civil War? Well, it's clearly a strategy war game, and it's a cross between the old Sid Meier's games I mentioned earlier and the Total War series, in the sense that you've got real-time tactical battles, and you've also got the campaign mode outside of that, where you get to rebuild your army, upgrade their equipment, assign new recruits and assign new officers and things like that. Sadly, there is no issue of map control in the game. You don't actually fight over the North American continent, which would have been awesome. If you're looking for something like that, you want to check out Grand Tactician Civil War, which I'll be playing through in the near future. And you really want to think of the campaign mode as more of a linked series of historical battles that are put together, although effects from one do carry over into another. For example, your troops' losses and experiences matter, as do the amount of weapons you might capture on a battlefield. The enemy armies, unfortunately, always regen for the next battle, but the end battles of a campaign are influenced by your victories or defeats earlier on, giving the enemy army some sort of debuff or penalty if you manage to beat them in the preceding fights. The real-time tactical battles are where this game really shines, I think. They're great fun. There's no big issues around command and control. It's very simple. You can just drag your units around, tell them where you want them to go, how to fight, give them orders to charge, hold their ground, hold fire, etc. And many battles will have objectives that you have to either hold or capture. In the case of capturing, these are often time-sensitive ones, so you can't just sit back, turtle up behind in your earthworks and let the enemy come to you. You have to go out on the offensive, and it gives the game a bit more of a sense of urgency. There are several game modes you can choose from at the start. You can play the entire campaign of the Civil War as either the Union or the Confederacy. You can choose just to play an historical battle, or you can also play custom battles. And the game also has full mod support, which I'll talk more about later because that's really important and a very good thing. Okay, onto the graphics, sound and performance. Now this is a 7-year-old game and it was in early access for a while before that, and it's based on, I think, an even older engine, so don't expect anything too amazing. The graphics are what you would call functional, as in you can see the basic animations of the units, you can tell which side's yours and which are the enemy very easily, and you can see where the important terrain is on the map as well. There are no issues with that whatsoever. But functional graphics rather than anything particularly fancy. Sound, however, I feel is a bit more useful. There's some great period music, which I can't unfortunately show you on YouTube due to copyright issues, but that's fine. You'll enjoy it when you play. And the sound effects in battle are designed to be as if you're listening to the battle from a distance. You can hear the distant rumble of the cannons, the crackle of musketry. However, you do occasionally get awakened with the start as there's a tremendous yell and a bunch of rebels come surging out of a wood that you'd forgotten to post skirmishers by, catching you in the flank totally off guard and giving you quite a fright. So the sound effects do add a lot to the game, and as you'd expect from a game that is this old and has been patched and fixed, no performance issues whatsoever as I played. Okay, onto my likes and dislikes, and as always, starting with the good stuff, what did I enjoy most about Ultimate General Civil War? Well, it has to be the tactical battles. These do feel like playing something that's a hybrid of the Total War games, which I did enjoy some of the older historical stuff of, and Sid Meier's Gettysburg, or Sid Meier's Antietam as well. One of the things I like most about these battles is that moving your troops around is so easy. You can just select multiple units, give them a right click, and they will march over there and form up a line in that formation. You can draw battle lines, and they will form to a curvy, wavy line if you wanted to skirt around the edge of some woodland, for example, to form a defensive line within that. You can also give awesome precise movement orders, which is so easy. You can draw a squiggly line and they will follow it precisely if you wanted to follow a road or do a wide flanking maneuver to come up and behind the enemy out of sight of them. It makes life so easier. It's way better in that respect than I think the modern Total War games trying to move your armies around. I also love in these battles how when you're on the offensive and you have to capture an objective, say the hill or the town, you have a time pressure against you. You can't just sit back and try and slowly work your way around. Well, maybe 1 or 2 battles you can, but you have to go for it before that timer runs out. And this gives you the added pressure that real generals had to do in certain situations, where maybe daylight was running out, they had to take the crossroads, or they had to take the hill before they run out of time to fight, and the enemy would receive reinforcements or withdraw to safety. And it really makes you play the battles in a different way. I think it's great. I also quite like the campaign system in this, although it's not perfect. I prefer games where you can control your armies across a huge battle map and fight over territory, but this is what it is. And I do like the way that you take your army forward. When I've done my recent playthroughs, which you can watch at the links below, I've invited viewers to volunteer to command brigades, and we've followed that brigade's history throughout the war. The losses they've taken, the casualties they've inflicted, the victories they've acquired, and also the weapons that they've been upgraded to as we've captured stuff or bought new weapons in. And I do like that. It gives you a sense of, well, I don't want to throw these men away in a pointless attack because I know I'm going to need them next time, which some war games, you just don't have that. I also like how the game tracks the injuries to unit commanders as well, and if a unit's commander gets injured in the middle of a battle, or worse, they get killed, then that unit's going to perform a lot worse for the remainder of that fight. And after the battle, when you pull in a replacement, if you don't have someone of sufficient experience, again, they're not going to get the best out of that unit, but they will level up as you fight battles, they will get promotions, and they will pick up perks as well. And finally, I said that I think this is currently the best American Civil War game in the market. Well, sadly, we don't have a lot of choice, but I do love this game for what it offers. I love this period of history. It's probably my favourite across all the periods of history I've played and researched. This is the best. And this is a good game. But if you guys know of any other good American Civil War games, do let me know in the comments. I'd love to go and check them out. As I said, we'll be checking out Grand Tactician Civil War pretty soon as well. Alright then, on to the bad stuff, the things I didn't like about Civil War. But I will preface this section by saying that the following list of complaints you're about to hear are all fixed by a mod. It's called the J&P mod, or the J&P Historical Rebalance mod. It's absolutely fantastic. It's free to download. I'll drop a link in the description. Play through the base game first, see what you think, then install this mod. It's a whole new experience, and I can thoroughly recommend it. So anyway, the first thing I dislike about Civil War is some hidden mechanics that aren't explained anywhere and are completely counterintuitive. For example, artillery battery size. You can have the battery size from 4 to 24 guns, but anything over 12, I think it's 12, beyond that does less damage than a 12 gun battery. I don't just mean you get diminishing returns, it's not as efficient to increase the battery size over that. I mean it physically does less. You have a 24 gun battery, it will do less damage than a 12 gun battery, and this isn't just a case of not having a good enough commander to utilize the extra guns. It's a crazy mechanic that's either a bug or some weird working out, we don't know, but apparently you don't ever want an artillery battery over 12 guns, and nowhere explains this unless someone has looked it up on Reddit and found out from a deep dive that somebody else has done. Absolutely crazy. Mod fixes that, thank God, but that also applies, I think, to cavalry regiments and sharpshooters in the game as well. The second thing I didn't particularly like was that on some maps you've got fortifications or entrenchments that you can put your troops into, which in theory should give you extra defences. Often in the base game, these fortifications, especially if they're in woods or towns, give your troops less cover than if they were just stood outside the fortifications in that wood anyway. It's bizarre, it really is. Also, these long lines of fortifications, they can be very easily flanked from a position where they shouldn't be, and your units just crumble out of them and run away. So the fortifications in the game aren't very well thought out. Again, that's fixed in the mod. Also, units are very unwilling to surrender. They will fight till they are completely destroyed or broken, even when surrounded. They will rout through your own lines, seemingly impossible, inflicting casualties as they go sometimes, which is bizarre, but they just sometimes refuse to surrender. You can occasionally take prisoners. Again, the mod fixes this, and units are far more willing to surrender, something that will give you quite the surprise when you first play the game with the mod, but it works much more historically, makes a lot more sense, and I think that's a good change. And finally, I do have a complaint about the campaign. I know it's not supposed to be one of these where you can control armies on a map and fight over territory and resources. I do love those. The campaign is just a linked series of battles, and I accept that. However, The enemy army will regen between battles in a campaign. It doesn't matter how hard you trash it down in one battle and wipe it out and destroy it, it will be at full strength for the next one. And I guess with the state of the AI, there would be no later battles in the campaign if we were allowed to wipe out armies entirely, right? So the AI isn't always the best, it can be tricked, but there are at least several difficulty levels that you can assign to make things a bit tougher. But anyway, those are really minor complaints, especially when you consider that you can install this mod and it fixes them all, apart from the campaign issue. So overall, I thought Ultimate General Civil War is really good, especially with the J&P mod, and I would definitely recommend giving it a play if you love your history. Also looking forward to trying out Ultimate General American Revolution of the American War of Independence, which is currently in early access, so we'll be taking a look at that soon. And if you'd like to go and see my playthroughs of both the North and the South in this game, check out the links to the other channel. You can go and watch the playlists over there.